All right, work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and listen to the discussion, but there is generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's limited scheduled meetings. First item, discussion of the formal agenda. Do we have any? Yes.
I want to talk about pies, as in potluck pies. Because Watt Childress sent me an email and said, you
Yeah, I saw
know,
that.
and I would like us to consider if there is a way that we can work with the neighbors. Because to my way of thinking, anything that increases neighborliness but doesn't risk public health is a good thing. So if we can thread a needle on that one, I'm pro pie.
Yeah, maybe we could get an update. I know that was a health department. Yeah, we received an email from a constituent who said that they could no longer do potluck gatherings. So they were wondering why. Maybe we could have a item on the work session on the 26th. I see it's pretty busy on the 26th.
Get full again.
Get full again. So if there's some opportunity on the maybe September 2nd agenda.
That strategic plan might take time. Hold on a second. The 9th?
Well, I mean, I see just
Oh,
the 20 minutes on
Oh,
that.
okay.
Well, we can,
We could figure something
yeah,
out.
Chair, I think that we can find a place for it.
Yeah, so just get an update about it.
There's a place.
If you
That's
might
the first I
send
heard about
me
it, was in that
the
email.
email, just so I can
Yeah.
look at it.
Actually, would you
Yeah.
agree communication? I think that'd be great, but sure thing.
Yeah, it was the first I heard of it, so it'd be good to get an update. Okay, anything else on the agenda this evening?
Elk. I've had a complaint about elk. It's not in our purview, it's in a Cannon Beach domain. But I just want to do a heads up, because if it's going to become more of an issue, I've shared the communication with county council, he's responded to it. But Cannon Beach is acting to establish policies regarding elk that are causing some people who live within my district, who are Cannon Beach residents, consternation. And I want us to be aware of that, because I know that we've been active in engaging to manage those around Warrenton and North County, but it might be time for some consideration of South County situation.
Yeah, it would be fine to revisit where we are with the elk, you know, that was part of the
Regional solution.
regional solutions, Oregon solution. And yeah, it'd be good to get an update on exactly where we're all with that. Are you talking about Cannon Beach city limits?
It's inside, it isn't particular, but yeah, you know, those elk migrate.
Yeah,
And they go back and forth and all around. I don't mind when they're in my front yard, cause I just put in new plantings.
yeah, but the issue is the city limits.
It's within city limits, but it may migrate outside, so
Okay,
just so we're aware of it.
Are elk included with our new liaison with USDA about?
I mean, if the elk are doing damage, then they might go in and work with the community on different options. There'd have to be property damage related to it, so,
That's.
but I think it would be, they are a resource, and it's mostly educational, because elk are, you know, they have their own challenges. It's a little bit different than a cougar would be. So, but yes, they would have resources, but you know, this is a in the city issue, so we would have to coordinate with Cannon Beach. I'm just always sensitive about the jurisdictional home issues, so,
Me too.
yeah.
anything else on this evening's agenda? Questions?
Are you going to give us a big report on economic development? Because I'm really curious about how that meeting went.
Oh, sure, I'll be happy to report out during the commission liaison.
Yeah, well, and I got an email from USDA, speaking of USDA, and they've worked with the city of Amity. They've had almost $7 million federal money in there working on all aspects of freshwater and wastewater stuff. And so if there's a way that we can get in on that,
Yeah, I think one of the keys we heard from the USDA representative for the state was that there's very little grant money. Most of it are loans, and those loans have their own challenges because of the payback that's required. And so some of the small systems, which are the ones that were bedeviled by more than really anything, some of those loan programs wouldn't be as advantageous as if there were grant programs. And so I think for the small systems, there are some state programs and state funding that are more grant related, but they're competitive. And so we will continually work with them. And there may be some systems, like a larger one, that still meets the USDA definition for rural, that could benefit from some of the loans too, so.
I just think that anything that helps support development and maintenance and repair of infrastructure is important. There's an infrastructure,
Well, the Infrastructure Finance Authority is what I sit on, and actually we did have 2 agenda items dealing with water at the last meeting. And we're actually going to be considering the Port of Astoria's cleanup at our next IFI meeting. So they're coming back for some opportunities for reimbursement for the work that they did to clean up that oil spill, pipe break.
Right.
But I think there are opportunities with Business Oregon, with IFA, for smaller systems, for smaller either wastewater or water projects. And I think Warrenton would be the best candidate. We were talking with the governor last week. We talked a lot about Northwest Business Park, and of course, one of the issues is wastewater and capacity of the wastewater treatment plant in Warrenton. So they're actually going out for a bond. They have some reserves, but it's a $30 million project. So there's going to be a need for some supplemental funding, and that might be an opportunity for Business Oregon and IFA to help. Anyway, that's early stages of discussion, but yes, they do serve a purpose, and they do a lot of work around the state. There's a lot of funding that flows through the Infrastructure Finance Authority.
Right. Glad you're there.
You know, any other questions about this evening's agenda or looking out through October, looking at October 14th?
If I could just mention on August 19th, Chair, Commissioners, the work session has been canceled. We had scheduled the veterans presentation, but that's been rescheduled for the 26th. So it's just a week later.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I'm arranging the schedule, because I'll be out and about in September and October, going to the district meetings in the board. And so I've got a paper calendar, but I haven't brought the thing together, but I've got capable staff support, so I'll be doing that. I don't know if we talk about wildfire here, because our fire folk are out helping, but you know.
We should be.
Well, I don't know how it fits into the agenda or not, or where it fits within our purview, because we don't run fire departments and we are supporting our firefighters. But it is pretty darn scary.
Yeah. And I rely on our Mr. Banks, vice chair, that does have her finger on the pulse of a lot of the wildfire issues and hazards throughout the state. So yeah, if you have any information you want to share during our issue liaison reports. So,
No, I know that, I think you were on it, Commissioner Thompson, and I wasn't, some other staff was the AOC briefing on the wildfires that happened
Yeah.
last week. And I think that that's helpful too, just to really create a statewide perspective. Because when you have 2 million acres, that more than 2 million acres that have burned, it puts it into perspective when you look at the statewide map. And obviously, we've all been impacted by the smoke at various times, which is why, you know, the county worked with the EPA and with DEQ to get 3 air quality sensors mounted on county facilities, one in Jewel, one in the sheriff's office, and one on our building here. And so if you ever want to know what the air quality is in Astoria, Warrenton, or Jewel, you can do that. Because, you know, the smoke has been, for many communities, the real, you know, indication that it's not been a typical summer. But, you know, staff is always happy to add any item to the agenda that the board is interested in speaking to. So, you know, I will take your board's direction as we go through, but there is, Commissioner Thompson's correct, there's a number of firefighting agencies from the county that have been deployed statewide, that are fighting that. And I think what takes some of the financial pressure off of our fire agencies is the resources that the county has committed from the transient lodging tax to really help them financially. So I think, you know, we are part of the COG now, and what's really resourcing these rural fire agencies so that they can not only serve their own communities, but have the capacity to help the state. So
I think that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, it's very true. I am gonna be out on September 23rd. I'm gonna be at a conference, work conference. So I'll rely on Vice Chair to run that. And then any other comments or questions about the agenda, rolling agenda looking forward?
Are we gonna talk, ODOT is coming, the OTC is coming, I think, October 9th to Astoria. And I think that's an opportunity for us
Who's
to,
coming?
the Oregon Transportation Commission will
Oh,
hold their meeting, October 9th. Meeting will be in Astoria. I've been sitting on the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee, which is a good exercise in evaluation of projects and listening to community desires, but where does the money come to pay for it? Well, that's the rub. And there are all of these, I would say, task forces and initiatives to address larger system problems, which I think is useful. But if, I mean, Amanda Rapinchik is so good during the legislative session, I don't know if it's with him, not to give her something that she didn't ask for, but if there's a way that we can get some kind of purview, some kind of listing or purview, or some kind of idea of what the governor is up to with all of these statewide initiatives that are looking at things like data centers and energy and water and fire and all of that, because they impact us. And we have representatives on some of them, but how do they all fit together? And how do we as commissioners, as the members of the governing body, really have the picture of the whole state and then our piece of it? I mean, I think that would be useful, because Amanda's done this great job during legislative session. Oh, good, maybe she wants to do something else, because that's what's
getting ready for the.
Well, indeed.
so plus he has a lot of other duties and responsibilities.
Understood. It's not that, I just think it would be helpful to us as representatives of the people to be able to have a clear understanding of what's going on and how we can best advocate.
Well, I depend on my AOC committees for a lot of that. I mean, right now, all of the AOC committees that I attend are working on the long session right now. That's what we're doing, is putting together, you know, what are AOC's priorities. So that was, you know, and those are easy. I mean, I Zoom it all of them.
I think that we will talk about that.
Whatever we can do to have an enrichment, and certainly AOC, you know, LOC is doing some things too that are very interesting, but how do we most effectively inform ourselves and then advocate?
Yeah, I think it's, by my chair, I think it's always a challenge with all the state priorities, because there's not always connective tissue coming from the state on those issues. And then to have counties try to evaluate where each individual process is and what that connective tissue might be coming back to the counties is really challenging. But I think it's an exercise that if we can create some insight into how all that's working, and we can have conversations with the board and maybe get ahead of some of our advocacy on some of those issues, then that could be a benefit. So let me ponder that with you. We'll see.
Because I get surveys that say, how are we doing? It's a state agency, and I think, well, if I had a better idea, I'd give you that information, but if they're at least asking us for input on how they're doing, if we have informed, response, better all around.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. And do we have anything else on our agenda looking forward? Are we ready to move on? Okay, we'll move on to the semi-annual update on community mental health program services, page 3. And our business operations officer, Brady Backstrom, and clinical operations officer, Stacy Lorette from Classic Behavioral Healthcare are both here. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm sure you were expecting to see Shira, our executive director, but if you haven't heard, she's on maternity
We
leave.
had a baby.
Had a new baby girl, so.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Congratulations,
can do
that's
so
awesome.
yeah, so you guys are stuck with us.
No, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're thrilled to give an update on just kind of some of the things that's have been going on at CBH this last little couple quarters here.
Your arrows?
Perfect. So the agenda for us is to talk about just a CFA update. Go over the Baker Building updates. As you know, we have been open, so we want to give you all some exciting news on what's been going on there. Talk about our new client portal, which we have launched. Give you an update on the work going on in our schools with youth and our SUD program. Talk about some mobile crisis statistics, and then open up to any questions. So maybe. Okay, so CFAA update, just as kind of a refresher, the CFAA is the County Financial Assistance Agreement, which is the financial agreement between community mental health programs and OHA. So in Clatsop County here, that is contracted directly from the county to us, CBH, so we take care of all the service items required by OHA. Just want to go over a couple of the challenges that we've been facing with this. The first and foremost, as I'm sure is no surprise, is just the financial changes that we've seen from the state and how those trickle down into our contracts and affect our operations. There has been a lot of changes, and we're still kind of waiting to see the effects of HR1 and how those will impact our clients and our operations as well as an agency. One of the beautiful things about CFAA is those clients that we serve that are uninsured, we're able to cover the cost of those services through the CFAA. So that's really impactful, but then also could potentially require us to lean more heavily on the CFAA, depending on how HR1 impacts our clientele. And the reality is, we just don't know yet. OHA repeatedly has says, we don't really know what the long-term effects are going to be. One of the strategies that we as an organization are taking to kind of help prepare for this and strategize for the potential funding cuts is the pursuit of what's called CCBHC status, which is a Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic status. And what that will do is kind of help stabilize our funding. Any services that we offer will be made whole from a funding perspective as far as true costs. And so that should help us to kind of mitigate some of the changes we're seeing with HR1. Yeah, it's really exciting.
That is.
The benefit to our clients there too is we will be slightly expanding some of the service offerings that we have as an agency in order to kind of qualify for this credentialing. So that will be a good benefit to our clients. The last two challenges are kind of one and the same. We've been promised from OHA administrative burden reduction, and that has yet to be seen. That largely comes from the data and reporting requirements, which are quite extensive. We've seen shifting in the CFAA requirements and what they want us to report, and it's still unclear. Different CMHPs in the state are kind of in agreement that there's a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, trying to get clarity on what the OHA is after and how we can get them that information in a timeline that makes sense. So,
Chair, could I interrupt?
Yes.
At the last local government advisory committee meeting, and I brought this to the attention of the county manager, Commissioner Megan Moyer was there from Multnomah County.
mhm.
And she's involved in a project to address the issue of administrative burden. She said that their efforts have been designed with Multnomah County in mind, but she generously said, we want this to apply to as many counties as are interested. Commissioner Kelly Jo Smith from Columbia County immediately said, Columbia County is interested. I thought, well, sure, I bet Classic County. So I raised my hand and said, we're interested as a placeholder, and then immediately came home to the county manager and said, I hope this was the right thing to do. Whatever you can do to help us provide you the leverage to do this, because it I want to pound the table. It absolutely needs to be done. The money has to be spent in a way that is accountable. There is no doubt about that. But good management requires an efficient, effective system of accountability. We have yet to see that. Instead, there is layering and complexity and a kind of a Rube Goldberg thing.
Yes.
That has just been added to, instead of going through and really defining efficient parameters. So if you can help us do that through the county management system, through the commission, I mean, I'm there every month like religion, talking to the directors of OHA and DHS to the extent that they're available in there, and if not, their leadership. So there's an avenue for you to express data-rich suggestions and requests.
That's very helpful.
It's very helpful,
Yeah.
because it is confusing, and even the data they're requesting is a little bit ambiguous and a little bit conflicted.
Yeah.
And multiple sources, so that's the other piece.
Mixed messaging coming from, depending on who you talk to, they think it's something different. So anyways, those are some of the challenges, but that's just a overall overview of the CFAA. I'll pass over to Stacy for some Baker building updates.
Baker building, which is just a passion of mine right now. I am so touched and impressed by the work that's been done there. Baker building is a permanent supportive housing, mouthful, PSH, we just call it PSH. And that is basically housing for individuals who are chronically homeless. They may have to meet the federal definition of that, which means they've been on the streets for at least a year, or they've had 4 episodes of homelessness in 3 years that total more than. They have to have a disability, and we prioritize at Baker folks that have a mental illness as well. First floor Baker actually houses our open door programs at CBH, which are our programs, our community-based services for people who experience severe and persistent mental illness. So we have a nurse there, we have case managers there, we have clinicians there, all centered there to provide the care that those folks need to really meet them where they're at. Really, when I'm talking about persistent and severe mental illness, I'm primarily talking about schizophrenia and psychosis. So it's really nice because of the co-location allows us to serve Baker residents. You don't have to be involved in CBH services to be a resident of Baker. You do have to qualify through the homeless system. We work with Classic Community Action so that we really are serving the people on the street that are the most vulnerable. Several of the people that we moved into Baker, it literally is the first apartment they've ever had in their life. And it is so touching. So just a couple quick facts about the experience with Baker. We have 32 units. They were all leased up by April 16th. We started February 24th, basically 37 working days. And I am impressed with our staff. I just have to brag about our housing staff a little bit because truthfully, their timelines were pushed back. There were construction delays and we still met our deadline. So we were supposed to be getting folks in a month, 2 months before that. And we were able to still meet our 3-month lease up deadline, which was pretty incredible. We have had 3 voluntary departures. Sometimes it's not the best match for people and they don't know that till they get in there and realize, oh, I have to follow some rules that maybe I've never followed in my life, right? So we have had 3 voluntary departures. What's important is we've been able to prevent eviction for those folks, so it doesn't jeopardize their ability to become housed in the future. I would say currently, this is 30 units because someone got housed yesterday. So our current occupancy is 30 units. And the other 2 are already spoken for and in the process of being leased up and will be shortly. So it is I would say that is a huge success. This day-to-day support, I just wanted to give you some idea of what do we do for residents at Baker? What does our housing support staff do there for folks, right? Because they're providing case management, resources, connection. So they had 97 medication touch supports. So if you think about reminding people to take their meds, checking in about if they filled their medication, those types of things are really important for this population. Family visits, guest pass, really kind of, when folks first move off the street, they really want to bring everybody in with them because they owe everybody a favor who's helped them, you know, it's a culture. So we are really trying to teach occupancy essentially, right? How do I live in an apartment? 21 times, staff supported residents through legal issues. A lot of our residents are facing legal issues. We have a gentleman who just got out of jail because he had an apartment, right? He would still be in jail if we were not able to house him. So we're really supporting folks through a variety of legal issues. We provide some transportation assistance. We have medical appointments that we coordinate and provide for people. And we just help residents do other things like get their birth certificates, get their documents they need to move in, all of those types of things. So really looking at the individual need, developing a service plan about what that resident needs. The other thing I want to say is these services are completely voluntary. Permanent supportive housing, you cannot mandate treatment of any type. So we really try to get people excited about services on that voluntary basis, and that's what works.
Moving on to our new client portal. So this is some new technology that we have released as of June, went live with this. This is a both mobile and web-based application that's just a client portal for folks receiving services. And the whole goal with this was under the umbrella of improving access, removing friction points for our clients who want to receive services. So this has been helping with appointment reminders, communication, and scheduling is all rolled into one singular platform. It's no longer multiple things for clients to navigate. And the ease of this too with submitting documentation. So we can push out digitally forms directly to whatever device makes sense. They can sign it, resubmit it. This automatically gets filed into their chart. Our staff don't have to take a paper copy and scan something into the document anymore. This has integrated telehealth capabilities, which again, just kind of removing that barrier of navigating multiple platforms. They can log into their portal, they can click on their appointment, it automatically launches their telehealth session. And we're looking at expanding our telehealth capacities as much as we can just to better serve clientele. And then one of the large reasons too that we think is really important, I want to highlight is the language access piece. This has been something CBH has been trying to tackle for the last about 9 months, is removing barriers for Spanish-speaking folks. So we're very proud of the fact that we have a Spanish-speaking prescriber, we have Spanish-speaking reception staff and clinical staff as well. So trying to provide those services. But in addition, all our documentation and our portal itself can be in English. So I'm trying to assist folks that want to speak Spanish when they're receiving services.
Well, this portal sounds wonderful. Can it integrate and provide enhanced reporting capacity to ease your administrative burden? Is that in the design?
Wouldn't that be nice?
For its functionality, yes. So there are some capabilities here that it has to provide some reports, but largely this is not of interest to OHA and state in their reporting.
It doesn't track that information. That information is in the actual health record.
Yeah.
And there are a million different health records used, you know, across the state.
No
We all use
common
different-
taxonomy,
Yeah,
no common
yes, exactly.
structure. But that's, in my mind, that's what OHA ought to be providing for you. In a way
That would
that
be
is,
amazing.
well, I mean, they should listen to us. We should listen to you and they should listen to us, and we should all have a system that works.
Yeah, it's challenging because every CMHP functions slightly differently and has different needs. And so they're also juggling the complexity of that. So it is, yeah, it's a multi-pronged problem. Back to Stacy for some summary.
Summer youth work, another one of my passions. I get to talk about my passions today, and that just makes it easy. So I just want to say that youth exist in school and in the community. So we really need to meet them where they're at. We also need to have office-based services available for youth too, because sometimes they don't want to meet in school and they don't want to meet in the community. So we need all of those things available for youth, believe it or not. And we have clinicians in all of our high schools. So there is a CBH clinician in every high school for at least a couple days in Clatsop County, except for Jewel. Jewel is actually served by an agency out of Vermont. So that's why we're not there. We do still serve the Jewel area. We provide intensive in-home services and all of that in the Jewel area. We just don't provide their school-based services. So to be clear, we recently, through the opioid settlement, were able to, and, you know, the county is who supported this, thanks to the county, to be clear. We're able to get our SUD, which is substance use disorder staff, recovery services staff, out into the schools. And we have created some amazing partnerships. We have peers going out, connecting with youth at lunchtime. We are doing groups. We are meeting with counselors there. We're connecting with families. It is amazing. And we're really building resilience, talking about doing some prevention. You know, youth, when you talk about youth and substance abuse or where they may be experiencing interactions with that, there can be substance abuse in their families. There can be substance abuse with friends. And we want them to have a safe place to go and a resource to talk to that is going to provide education, prevention, and real information, right? Not just their friends, not just we want them to have somewhere to go and a safe person to talk to. And we're really creating that in our schools right now. We have SUD peers in the middle schools and in the high schools as well. Someday we're hoping to branch out to elementary even as well, because prevention, you know, it's never too young for prevention. I think that starts in utero. So I will say that when our SUD staff are out there, we've had some great experiences. Staff are recognized. We had a booth at the fair. CBH had a booth at the fair this year. It was amazing to see the kids come by and recognize those peers and say, hey, I know you from my school and I want you to meet my dad, and you know, just that kind of stuff. So it's amazing what we're doing. The whole idea is you don't become addicted to substances overnight, right? It starts with experimentation. It starts with being exposed through other ways, and then, you know, turns into self-medication and then potentially addiction, right? The further upstream that we can get of that, the better off we are. And that's really what we're able to do now that we have some funding to be in schools. So we're at lunch hours, we're doing fun stuff. Want to give you another new slide for me? Okay, so from our staff, this is just some testimonials. And I just want to say, they're jazzed about being in the schools. They're seeing the kids get excited and exciting them about their work. We certainly hope to build more programs, build more groups, and do more next year as well. So the other thing is we have youth enrolled in our recovery services as well. So, again, we're allowed to pay for that through opioid funds. 10 youth kept appointments with SUD. 246 youth had mental health appointments. So we're still building the SUD services programs, right? And, you know, there's also stigma around treatment and assessment for SUD services, right? And no one wants to be labeled as a child, nor should we have to label to provide these services. So great to have opioid settlement funds, because we don't have to label to provide these services. Very amazing. So looking ahead, we really want to continue to expand our presence in the schools. And I'll just say in the community as well. That means being at community events, that means being at the fair, that means holding the pride events for the kids, that, you know, all of those things that we are able to do community-based. Kids want to go to the beach. They want to have fun. They don't necessarily want to just sit in an office and do talk therapy, right? So really interactive youth activities. Maybe we just need to go out and play basketball and talk about what's going on there over the court, you know. Process social barriers. Kids experience a lot of stuff that they don't talk to adults about. When they have safe places to go, they can process that stuff. Building resilience, which is the whole thing, and staying connection, because we know connection and resilience are related, so.
Lastly,
Yeah, quick question.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just curious, is Youth Era still present in the community?
They are, and they are providing peer services, and we actually refer to them sometimes.
Good.
Yeah, no, they're actually building their capacity here, and they really are the leaders in youth-led services, meeting youth where they're at, and we love them. They're amazing.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, they're a big part of the partnership and the system of care in our community.
Lastly, you talked a little bit about mobile crisis and some statistics there. This is data from 2025. Unfortunately, we don't have all of 26 yet because we're still in 26. But a couple of things I wanted to highlight here that still rings true for this year in reporting. This 56% number This is that had law enforcement on scene. So this is a great example of our mobile crisis team partnering with local law enforcement. When they come across individuals that are in crisis or having mental health episodes, some of these clientele that Stacy mentioned might be our open door clients. We might know these individuals. We're able to partner with law enforcement. And again, you can see that in the caller request dispatch. That 988 number would be folks dialing up themselves if they feel they're experiencing a crisis. But as you can see, that 55% of law enforcement reaching out to us and wanting us on scene and helping to deal with those kind of circumstances. Which, if you move to the right to the disposition, I think one of the most interesting and telling statistics is the arrests being 0%. Meaning that when our staff, when our mobile crisis team are able to be on site and interact with these individuals, they're able to largely remain in the community or be, moved to emergency department rather than putting that burden onto law enforcement. That's obviously more of their time, more of their energy that's being put towards dealing with these individuals rather than dealing with the next call or being able to go back into the community.
And that's the de-escalation piece, right? That's so important that crisis provides.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I have several questions.
That's
about data. I was a little confused by the 0 in the disposition. I mean, that seems like with this number, this is a lot.
This is just for our mobile crisis team when they're responding.
No, I realize that, but wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 100% success rate.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I think there's a
That's
lot of
really-
factors that probably play into that. We can't
Yes.
take all the credit, right?
Yes.
The type of scenes that we get called to and those type of things. But certainly it does point out to the fact that we are able to de-escalate a lot of situations that may result in further involvement, and jail really
Yeah.
for people.
How does this process interface with our, and now the word is escaping me.
Deflection?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, deflection, we run the deflection program, CDH runs the deflection program, so it's very tied up in. Crisis doesn't necessarily get called to every deflection call, but once somebody is in jail, or oftentimes they're notified then and crisis will. So we have recently had crisis respond to a couple of deflection calls because there's a screening that needs to happen right away. But those folks then get funneled over to our recovery services folks.
or STD.
So it's an SUD program, not crisis.
Yes.
So, yeah, so when you're talking deflection, you're talking usually, our SUD program, our recovery services program.
Okay,
So substance abuse,
okay.
and they get funneled in there and there's services that they have to complete. There's a plan
So
that
you
comes
picked
up.
them up then. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it was you all. That's wonderful. Oh, good. I got the numbers even better now.
Yeah, it's a great program. The deflection's been really successful. We've seen a lot of really amazing
I
testimonials. come out of
didn't
that
realize that,
program.
that you all were doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did I think was doing it?
Did you have a question?
So I did, I was just curious, in regards to the substance abuse, how it would be nice, in the future to see kind of a breakout, because I mean, agitation and disruptive behavior can be associated to substance abuse. So can harm, and a lot of those reasons for dispatch can be associated to substance abuse, and so I was just curious, what that percentage was and what percentage of that potentially goes through our deflection diversion pathway.
So, and I don't know how many of those would get classified correctly either of substance
Right.
abuse, right? Because someone may be suicidal because they're using,
Right.
or they may, I mean, I think there's some co-occurring things that happen there, and sometimes you're picking a primary thing here, but there may be multiple reasons for dispatch,
Yeah.
right?
In fact, thank you, there was in one of these that I thought there were two things that were both, suicidal things.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The reason for dispatch, is that what you're referring to?
I think it might, well.
yeah. risk of harm to
The
self and
suicidal.
suicidality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, there's a little bit of overlap in these nuances, and you could actually be getting a response for multiple reasons. This is what Lines for Life often says that they're called in for, or what we code in the intake. So
Yeah,
that's
so-
where the data
Yeah,
comes
it
from.
just seems repetitive. I didn't know how you separate this. But
I think it's a good point that there's a lot of overlap between those categories.
So just as kind of an overview again, mobile crisis, so this is a 24/7 program, community-based, that deals with crisis assessment. Obviously, law enforcement will give us a call. We also do stabilization, we get, those that are in crisis connected to other community partners and services. And this is, we are not exclusively just serving CBH clients, obviously. So we've had other community partners beyond law enforcement that do other housing programs beyond CBH. That will reach out to us if they're having individuals that are in crisis, that we can have our team dispatched and respond to those. So in the reporting window of January 1st to June 30th, we had 359 crisis services and 135 clients that we served for our crisis team. So I will sing their praises all day long. They're doing a phenomenal job, really great program, and we love the partnership that we have with law enforcement. We love the partnership we have with other agencies. And how we're able to serve the residents of Clatsop County.
so am I reading this correctly? That you have 3 times more services provided than you do, that means you've got some of your clients or all of your clients?
Some might have 3 crises, some might have 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
so-
this is an
So
act, we're just,
that's
yeah.
amazing. I mean, that is, wow.
You may get released from the hospital with a safety plan, you may be feeling better, and then you may go home and it hits again. Okay, so it is, when you're in crisis, it can happen more, you know,
It is.
it can be cycled.
I think that's a good sign.
Commissioner Banks, you got a question there?
Yes, thank you. So I'm assuming OHA is your primary insurance that you guys are
It
serving.
comes through the Columbia Pacific CCO, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's OHA.
Are there any insurance, policies that you're prevented from utilizing? I mean, we've got a whole fleet, MODA, Providence.
So we only take MODA and OHP.
Is there a reasoning behind?
It's really hard for panel certifications, all the different insurances, and we, our job is to serve the OHP population.
Okay.
Our job is really to serve those folks who can't get services other places. Our job is to serve the community and meet the community need of folks who can't, and what you tell us to do, right? What we as a community decide that our priorities are, that's really those are our primary populations.
Potentially preventative in the pediatric realm when you're visiting schools or?
So yeah, we can see people through the school-based grant on any insurance, and
Okay.
that's the funding that you guys provide that allows us. We can be insurance blind at that point,
Okay.
and the family does not have to receive a bill. So if it's school-based services, if it's through the opioid settlement contract, those kinds of things, yes, we're gonna bill insurance if we can, but if we don't take their insurance, or if we can't bill it, then those funds fill in and cover those services. That's why this is so vital.
Good question.
Excellent question. Thank you for that.
Other questions on anything we talked about or any other services we provide?
Any questions?
Well, just a follow-up in regards to crisis, so say somebody with Providence Insurance is in crisis.
Crisis is no insurance. See, anyone, we serve any.
Okay.
That is,
Okay,
we don't ask about insurance at all at the crisis level. That only comes in once you're signing up for services.
for treatment.
Crisis is,
Okay,
we respond to anyone
and
in
is
this
there,
county.
is there an avenue? Once you guys have kind of moved them through crisis, is there a resource in community for somebody with an alternative insurance that has kind of, I don't know if the words escaped crisis?
So it depends on the service, but crisis will connect them
Okay,
to
So
mental
there-
health providers that take their insurance, they, you know,
good.
they
So
will
there's
go
some
online, look up
problems.
psychology today, see who in the
Okay,
community
thank you.
takes their insurance, they'll do care coordination to connect them to a provider. They also serve people that are seeing private providers, right? And then we're gonna, if the client will allow us to, we're gonna connect with that private provider and say, here's how we serve them in crisis, here's the safety plan that was developed, here's how it fits in or doesn't fit into what you're doing. You know, they probably need to be seen within the next 3 days. Those types of care coordination is really the follow-up, that 67% stat you saw up there
Okay.
that we do. If a client is open to it, we're gonna follow up and connect them as much as we can. But that, again, we have to meet clients where they're at and we have to follow their wishes.
I just didn't want the gap. That
Well,
makes-
yeah, no, it's a great question and I appreciate it. Because it is important and we do serve those private provider clients.
Mhm.
And we provide the crisis service for them after hours. So we're trying to kind of meet the whole community need there and work with other providers. Although I will say, we see a large portion of the highest acuity clients in Clatsop County.
Mhm.
Just by virtue of who those people tend to be.
Commissioner Webb, you had a question.
Yes.
We have about 4 minutes.
I have a follow-up to Commissioner Banks's question about Medicare. Do you have very many of the folks who you face? Are they over 65? Are they registered with Medicare? I mean, how do you handle people?
Yeah, we serve everyone. We serve everyone regardless of age. We have people who specialize in aging are more specialized in aging services and are more experience. People experience mental illness at all ages. It can be exacerbated as we get older. We moved a 73-year-old man into Baker, who hadn't been housed in 30 years. So, I mean, yes, we want to look at what is the need and we want to meet the need.
So Medicare doesn't give you the trouble that it gives me.
Well, Medicare is problematic, but that's the thing, we're gonna serve people regardless, because that's what we do.
Absolutely.
Medicare does not reimburse at the same rate. I mean, let's be honest,
That's
it
right.
does not. That's why it's so important that we blend and braid funding streams so that we can continue to serve everyone who's in crisis regardless of service, insurance or no insurance, right? We serve people who come down here on vacation, who are from Portland and are in crisis. We see a lot of that stuff too, right? They're in our community and they need to be dealt with at that time.
Any other questions for Brady and Stacy?
Thank you.
Thank you
Great-
guys so much.
Really great report out, guys. I really appreciate this. This is
Can I make a note? I've seen an uptick of conversations regarding pediatrics and I, over the last 5 years, I really appreciate the focus that you guys are spending. And
Thank
because
you.
I have always agreed, if you catch them prior to self-medication, we can solve the problem. So thank you for that.
And, you know, we do parent-child interaction therapy starting at age 2. I mean, we really do wanna, and we are working right now on a partnerships with pediatrics. So that, you know, we can get upstream because it is true. The earlier we get it, the more good we can do and the better trajectory we can have.
And the presence in the schools
Yeah, it's huge.
is just enormous.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring too. I mean, yeah.
We're excited to see that program grow.
It's so are we.
Yeah, a lot of great updates. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate this.
And thank you all so much for your service as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel free to
thanks
reach
a
out
lot.
to us anytime.
No
Thank
problem.
you so much, Brady, and thank you, Stacy.
Yes.
All right. Q4 financial report, fiscal year 25-26. Andrew Sullivan, Finance Director. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Even commissioners.
This was a great week.
Good. Tight as best as we can here. Okay, so here we are, fourth quarter of fiscal year 25-26. Fourth quarter review, but it's really the fiscal year end review as well, so just keep that in mind. Kind of start to just touch on the budget policy guidance for the whole year. We'll look at the balances through the fourth quarter, and in the end, it's all combined, the financial outcome for fiscal year 25-26. The budget policies, we've gone over these at the beginning of each quarter, so this is more or less a recap. On the expenditure side, we've maintained current staffing levels throughout the year and reviewed vacancies on case-by-case basis. We've recognized opportunities to reduce expenses and materials and services countywide, and we restricted general fund availability to backfill losses in state and federal revenues. And on the revenue side, we facilitated AD growth as best as we could by supporting new construction. We increased countywide TLT from 1 cent to 3 cents effective beginning of the year, January 1st. And we adopted a full cost recovery approach when establishing the school year 25-26 fee schedule.
Yep.
So at this juncture, we can, these are more or less, these aren't goals, these are kind of accomplishments, I'd say at this point. So for all the areas, these are the non-general fund departments. So this is a great success. Everybody's percent of budgeted expenditures has been under 100%. So kind of a testament to good stewards of public funds. The areas that you're seeing towards the bottom of the graph are far lower because you have to consider either unspent contingencies, cost saving initiatives, operational efficiencies. In some areas, just the budgeted expenses just didn't materialize.
Mhm.
On the general fund side, again, everybody is either at 100% or below. But overall, for the general fund, we're at 92% of budgeted expenditures. This is a little bit higher than previous fiscal years. Typically, we're right around 88 or 89%. In large part, this is a little out of the ordinary. We had a number of retirements that we experienced this past year and some subsequent payouts involved. A little bit higher, but still well beneath the 100%.
I think it's just, if I could, Chair, move to the board, I just want to reiterate that on the expenditure side, that is a really critical factor every year. And so we always assume that we're going to spend around 88, 89% of our general fund expenditures. And so when you look at the general fund forecast, the revenue is important, but this expenditure rate is really important. And having the support of all of our directors, managers to meet those goals is going to be vital as we move forward. So we are going to have these one-off years where we have more payouts for all kinds of different things. But how we manage the organization is not just on the revenue side. So I just want to reiterate that because that's a cornerstone of our entire financial plan is how we manage the during the year expenditure rate. So thank you.
Thanks. So switching to the general fund on the revenue side, so in large part, we've collected nearly 100% of the budgeted revenues. In total for the general fund, we're at 97% collected. Some of the categories at the bottom there between, the interest income earned, we budgeted around 4.5% to 5% and came closer to about 4%. And that just has to do with market rates. 4% is still pretty competitive. So what's out there right now. On transfers in, it's a little bit lower because we had a budgeted amount to come from the general fund stabilization fund, which we did not need. And then we reappropriated some funds that were supposed to come into the general fund from the ARPA funds that were contributed towards the Westport sewer project. Some of the more material categories of property taxes and timber. Property taxes, we budgeted at a 4% AD growth. It came in at more closer to 3.4%. That's about a $180,000 shortfall. And then in timber, in the end, we 92% of what was budgeted. And so for timber, it's a little bit higher. It's about a $400,000 shortfall. So you stack all those together and we're at about 97% fully collected for the general fund. Are there any questions?
So is that timber sales not coming in, or is that
It's a variety of factors. I think
all of the factors that we've been
timing of
looking at?
and then we'll probably see it come through this year.
I think a lot of it's timing, and then, I think that the sales have been pretty competitive, so the market's been pretty strong. I just think it's a timing on those individual sales. And when they're actually lost.
The value right now is slowly, right?
So we're gonna watch that, but again, to my point, that I just made is that what's gonna really help us too is managing aggressively on the expenditure side. So we're just gonna have to continue to do that, but I will say that there were some significant headwinds on the expenditure side. Just cost of, CPIs, but also, what we experienced with our medical this last year.
Yeah.
It's a trend that we do not want to see continue. And we could see it continue at that level. And we're not the only ones, so it's not a uniquely Clatsop County phenomenon, but those are the kinds of things that we're gonna have to really watch. And what I always say is what makes a county solvent or a public sector agency solve is not one thing, it's not 10 things. It's a million things on the revenue side and it's a million things on the expenditure side. There's not one thing we're gonna do to maintain our strong fiscal position. It's gonna be a lot of different things. And what I'm gratified is that we do all those things, but it's still gonna be tough. It is gonna be tough, because a lot of the indicators are flashing yellow right now and some red. So I just want to be clear about that. But what the good news is, and I think I don't want to interrupt you, sorry about that, used to it, but is that the ending fund balance though, which is what we really look at, we ended last year at 35% and we ended 24-25 at 35% and we ended 25-26 at 35%. So even with those, we were under expended, we collected a little bit less revenue. The net is that we still landed at 35% revenue, and the board goal is between 20 and 30%. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but and so we are above what the board goal is still. And we anticipate staying above that, but it's there's a lot of work that goes into those numbers. So, and thanks,
Mr. Thompson, of course.
Well, I am, because it's absolutely essential to monitor the revenues and the expenditures and that finessing and that very careful shading and making sure that everything stays true. I think that's essential. What I was talking about earlier in terms of looking at the broader picture, in my mind, we have to be looking at investment opportunities. So where can we put our attention and our energy so that we bring in, I don't know how much low-hanging fruit there is, but investment opportunities. We look for ways to bring in revenue to the county. We look at different kinds of economic development. We look at different kinds of grant opportunities that can fortify, for example, building infrastructure so that we are able to do economic development. And we look at the broader picture so that we don't just keep our head pointed inward, we're looking outward.
Yeah.
For that.
And if I might share, I think a lot of that is happening. There can always be more, but there's a lot of grants that are being applied for, not just from the county, but from all of the jurisdictions that are responsible for the infrastructure challenge. And certainly we as a county are always out there looking, for those. We just received over $1 million for one of our largest infrastructure challenges, which is the 911 system. And so, we are doing that, but there's always going to be a carrying capacity limitation for every rural county about how much you can do that vis-a-vis just the day-to-day grind that is keeping train on the tracks. And I think there's a balancing act, and we certainly want to do both effectively. And I think that's where the board is so helpful, is to be kind of the early, the early signal, for us about what some of those opportunities are, because they're coming from so many different places. And that's where having our federal and our state lobbyists help us is also part of the equation. But all of your work on AOC is an important, part of that. All the board's work on your committees is an important part of that. All the relationships that you're bringing is an important part of that, because that is all important, but there is a capacity issue that's always going to be prominent, with that. But there's a lot of good work going on with economic development right now, a lot of discussions that are going to be important. But we all know some of these issues weren't created in a short time frame, and they're not gonna be fixed in a short time frame. And I think a lot of the conversations that I'm sure that Chair Quila will share are the fact that the governor's trying to help us with some of these generational challenges. And it is about money ultimately, and larger amounts than even the state or the federal government have the ability to help us with right now. So I agree, Commissioner, and we'll have to continue.
We're right at the hour here. Do we have anything, you wanna put a button on this, Andrew? with anything?
I just want to mention and just kind of give some acknowledgement and gratitude to all the decisions that have been made by the board and all the efforts of county staff to maintain 35% fund balance. And that's a huge accomplishment for us. It was all the things that we've been doing this past year, 2 years. So just want to.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Well, it takes a lot of management and certainly very looking for any opportunity, costs and diversification of revenue. It's extremely important. I think that Mr. Thompson can attest that lots of counties are in very difficult financial straits right now. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I think we can be very grateful that we do have this 35% fund balance, because that's not the norm.
Absolutely.
And the challenge will be keeping our financial footing as we go forward.
Okay, we'll go ahead and transition over to the regular meeting.
Oh my God, oh God.
Check for all of the commissioners here.
That's working. And then, do we need Andrew?
You want to check everybody's mic? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Banks,
Can you hear me now?
Yep, very good.
Commissioner Webb,
Can you hear me now?
okay, Commissioner Thompson,
5 is in that.
There we go.
County Manager,
Yes, sir.
okay. And then County Council. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good, we're set then.
Yes, I never stopped the recording.
All right.
Okay, ready? The Board of Commissioners is the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, and as a Clatsop County Local Contract Review Board, is now meeting in regular session. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I want to welcome everybody here this evening. Clerk of the board, can we have the roll call, please?
Chair Quila,
Here.
Vice Chair Banks,
Here.
Commissioner Wakua,
Commissioner Wakua is excused.
Commissioner Webb,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
I'm here.
All right, we had an opportunity to review the agenda during our work session. Do we have any questions or comments, or are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve.
Second the motion.
All right, moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is business from the public. It's an opportunity for anyone to give a 2-minute presentation about any item on the agenda, except for public hearings, or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public signed up to speak remotely?
No, there's no remote.
Okay. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public signed up to speak in person this evening?
Yes, we have 2.
2? Okay.
Re-
All right, so you'll wait till you're called on, you'll come forward, give your name and address for the record, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Rocio Simmons,
Okay? If you want to come up right up to here and give your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Rocio Lizárraga Simmons, and my address is 498 North Marion Avenue in Gerhardt.
Welcome.
And I'm here to speak on behalf of my colleague Paula Bartel. Can you raise your hand, Paula? Okay, she asked me to read this on her behalf. Good afternoon. I am speaking as a constituent and on behalf of El Centro Northwest, representing the immigrant community and El Puente Group, an initiative of El Centro Northwest that provides culturally specific services to our community. Our purpose today is simple. We want to be visible and remind Clatsop County that we are also part of this community and that we care about the decisions that affect us. Many of us have lived here for 20 years or more. We have raised our children here, worked here, paid taxes, and contributed to the local economy. Immigrants are an important part of the workforce in fishing, hospitality, construction, cleaning, and many other essential industries. But our contribution goes beyond our jobs. We want to participate and give back to the communities where we live. Recently, El Puente organized a community cleanup in Astoria, and we hope to do similar activities in Seaside, Warrenton, and Cannon Beach. We are also grateful to the cities of Astoria and Cannon Beach for supporting some of our programs through small grants. Their support has helped us continue serving our community and encouraged us to become more involved. At the same time, many immigrant families are living with fear because of immigration enforcement and increasing experiences of racism and discrimination. Despite these challenges, we continue working, raising our families, and contributing to our communities. Today, we want Clatsop County to hear our message. This is our home too. We want to participate, share our ideas, and be part of the decisions that affect our communities. We do not want to be seen only as immigrant workers. We are neighbors, parents, volunteers, community leaders, and valuable members of this county. We have seen other counties in this area, in the state of Oregon, that have stood up and gone against this state itself in regards to welcoming immigrants, and we do not want that to happen in our county. Thank you for listening to our voices and for giving us the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your message. Okay. Daniel?
Angela Sanchez.
I'm gonna be interpreter for her. She's gonna do it in Spanish and I'm gonna do it
Yeah,
in.
welcome.
Okay, thank you. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ángeles. Soy inmigrante y una de sus constituyentes. He vivido en Astoria por 20 años. Nunca pensé que emigraría, pero las circunstancias, mi familia y la muerte de mamá me trajeron aquí. Al llegar a Astoria trabajé en canería en el proceso de sardina, en el cual eran jornadas muy largas de hasta 15 horas o hasta que se terminaba de procesar todas las toneladas de sardina que traía el barco. Mi trabajo consistía en abrir los contenedores, dejar caer el pescado en la caja, pesarlo entre 10 y 20 libras y pasárselo a alguien más para que continuara con el proceso de empaque sin detenernos, siguiendo el ritmo de la máquina y la banda transportadora. Terminaba cansada con dolor de manos, brazos y espalda. Nos pagaban el salario mínimo y sin prestaciones.
Good afternoon. My name is Angeles, and I'm an immigrant and one of your constituents. I have lived in Astoria for 20 years. I never thought I would be an immigrant. Circumstance and my family brought me here. When my mother passed away, our lives changed, and we had to leave our home. I arrived in Astoria, and I work in shift up to 15 hours a day at the fish processing plant. Sometimes we will work until finished processing all the fish brought in the boat for hours. My job was to weigh boxes of sardines. I fill the boxes, weigh them, and pass them to another person. Each box weighed between 10 and 20 pounds. We lift hundreds of boxes every day, and always keeping up with the speed of the machine and the conveyor belt. We have to open the containers, put in the fish, fill the box, weigh it in, and keep moving without stopping. We ended each day with pain in our hands, arms, and backs. We were paid minimum wage and received no benefits.
También trabajé en el área del filete. Ahí había que acomodar el filete de pescado de una posición adecuada para que la máquina le quitara la piel. Todo esto se hacía al ritmo de la banda. Un trabajo muy cansado para las manos, hombros y espalda por los movimientos repetitivos y las largas jornadas, ganando el salario mínimo. Además, trabajé cuidando niños. En los primeros años que me moví aquí, añoraba regresar a México. Después de una relación no muy buena, nació mi hijo y me quedé sola con él. Entonces decidí quedarme y trabajar por un futuro mejor para mi hijo.
I also work in the filleting area. There, we had to arrange the fish according to the speed of the conveyor belt so that everything moved evenly. It was very hard on our back and shoulders because of the repetitive movement we had to make for hours at a time. I also work taking care of children. Like many immigrants, I did the work that was necessary to support my family and build a better life. During my first years after I moved here, I would still dream that I was back in my home in Mexico. But after a difficult relationship, my son was born, and I found myself raising him on my own. At that point, I decided to stay and work towards a better future for my son.
Hoy quiero hacerles unas preguntas como representantes de nuestra comunidad. ¿Entienden lo que la comunidad inmigrante hispana está viviendo y sintiendo en este momento? ¿Nos ven como parte de esa comunidad y de este país o como personas que sienten que son tratadas como si estuvieran quitando algo a los demás? ¿Qué podrían hacer ustedes para que nuestra comunidad sea más visible y escuchada? ¿Cómo piensan proteger a las familias inmigrantes para que podamos participar en la vida pública sin miedo? ¿Qué opciones existen para involucrarnos más en nuestra comunidad sin temor a ser expuestos o enfrentar consecuencias por alzar la voz? Nosotros trabajamos, cuidamos a nuestras familias y contribuimos a esta comunidad todos los días. Lo único que pedimos es ser vistos con dignidad, respeto y humanidad, y poder participar sin vivir con miedo. Gracias por escucharnos.
Today, I would like to ask you, as a representative of our community, do you understand what the Hispanic immigrant community is experiencing and feeling at this moment? Do you see us as part of this community and this country, or you see us as people who are made to feel as though we are taking something away from others. What can you do to make our community more visible and ensure that our voices are heard? How do you plan to protect immigrant families so that we can participate in public life without fear? And what opportunities exist for us to become more involved in our communities without being afraid of being exposed or facing consequences for speaking up? We work, care for our families, and contribute to this community every day. All we ask is to be seen with dignity, respect, and humanity, and to be able to participate without living in fear. Thank you for listening to us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Okay, Daniel, do we have anyone else that has signed up for public comment this evening?
That is all.
Okay. Anyone else here that would like to participate in public comment this evening? Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you for making your voices heard. And thank you for all you do for our community, all you bring to our, our town, our county, and what you do for our businesses and our community. Thank you so much. And I heard your comment about what can you do to connect with organizations, and Consejo Español is a fantastic organization. They do so much, and we work very closely with them. So, Norma Hernandez and others, I think that might be a great resource. If you haven't already spoke with them, that might be one way to really make your voices even more powerful. So, but thank you very much for being here. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar, and you're welcome to stay, or you can go at this time if you'd like to. So, feel free. We'll move on to the consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar this evening.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll start with commissioner reports and Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. I'm just sitting impacted by the force, by the power of the witness that you've provided for us tonight. All of us really were immigrants at one time or another. And how do we welcome newcomers? How do we bring people in and treat everyone with respect and affection so that everyone's contribution can be included and the dignity of everyone's personhood is achieved? I hope that we have a greater awareness and will be more attuned to the voices that you're bringing up. I hope that you continue to involve yourselves in county governance and in city governance, as well as the community organizations, so that I hope that you feel bienvenidos and ongoing that you do that. Please. I talked at the work session about pies, because one of the most important ways that we create community is when we gather together and we share food and we share common cause. And I was particularly moved to get an email from one of my old friends that I've been doing potlucks with for years. On the other hand, I sit on this dais, so I have to follow the rules. So it's an interesting proposition to look at how we work this together. I'm heartened that we're going to be continuing to look at how we create and maintain community in that. I'm moved by the situation of our neighbors and friends, our families, our colleagues all over Oregon, as we look at 2 million acres of burned territory here. We wanted to preserve forests, but without management practices,
without silvicultural practices to reduce the fuel load, we put ourselves more at risk. Without developing alternatives to combustion engines, because remember, I'm from Detroit, I talk car, I love cars, but combustion engines lead to the emission of petrochemicals that lead to global warming. Yet we need transportation to have a functioning economy, to have functioning cultures, to have functioning worlds. So the challenge is on us to deal with climate change, to deal with inventing new ways of being able to do transportation. But good governance requires us and all of the benefits. Because if we have only rhetoric on one side or another, we only have conflict. So I was delighted to hear that the chair was involved with economic development activities, because if we look for ecologically sustainable economic development that values the contribution of every single person and makes the best of every single person, then we're headed in the right direction. In some ways, we are struggling because we heard a report about community mental health. We're struggling. We're struggling with climate change. We're struggling with increasing wealth gap between rich and poor. I was reading the cartoons, and here's a cartoon that says 1,000 billionaires in America own as much as 72% combined of all of the rest of the people. That's a wealth gap that makes everyone despair. And how do we, sitting in this county, whether you're in your chair or our chair, how do we address these issues? As your elected representatives, we engage with these. These are pretty darn overwhelming. And when we look at artificial intelligence, it's even more daunting, because we're on a competitive international scale here. We have to be able to manage data. We have to be able to have water. Holy cow. Well, I have 4.5 months left to sit in this chair. After that, I proposed to my colleagues at the Association of Oregon Counties that we have an alumni club of some commissioners. Well, there are 5 commissioners that I've talked to from all over Oregon, from Harney County, Deschutes County, Washington County, Lincoln County, and me from Clatsop County, who want to get together and help everybody with the governing process. I don't know what that'll look like, but I hope that we stay in touch and do our best thinking together so that we expand and enrich our humanity, so that we heal ourselves and our world. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Great report. Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Appreciate it. Commissioner Webb?
My thinking tonight has, terrible to have somebody to go to a meeting and to have it's like a mirror in front of you. And so I can see that I've been sitting here with a crazy thing going on. Hey, somebody help me. Pass me a brush or something.
You look fine.
Thank you. Yeah, tonight, on our agenda, where as we continue to do our comprehensive plan, and we're tonight, in Oregon, of course, we have a number of goals that we must include in our comprehensive plan. And tonight we're doing goals 5, which is all about issues of culture in our community. And I think it's incredibly important that we that we reflect in our plans and in our ordinances, that we value cultural diversity in our community. Before the ships showed up here with white people on them, several hundred years ago, there were people living here. There are Native American people who organized into tribes, and we have declared in our cultural goal that we would like to include these folks and their history, and I wish that this country had done a better job of valuing people like my grandfather, who came to this country not speaking English, but speaking French. And he was welcomed and did well and raised a family. And that's the history of our country. We're all immigrants, every one of us, except Native Americans, who I think deserve some discussion and a part of our cultural heritage and the respect that has brought to our community. I wish there were a way of those of us who have deep family here to go around with something that says we're all immigrants. Every single person who is not a Native American in this country is an immigrant. And we value, if you travel across this country, every major population center, you will see Polish people, Russian immigrants, South American immigrants, German immigrants. We're everywhere. You want to get a meal in America from every country in the world, you can do it. There are immigrants who open restaurants. I think it's one of immigrants' great gifts, actually, is the wonderful food. But please also understand that in this latest administration's attack on immigrants, this county has been working very hard. Our sheriff, Matt Phillips, has been a leader statewide in organizing all of the sheriffs in Oregon to talk to these ICE people. And we have been very lucky in this county because ICE has gotten the message from us that we don't want them here mistreating the people who are our citizens. And we have been very successful. We have managed to keep a lot of this negative things that have happened in too many places in this country. We're working on it. We care about it. We're talking to our senators and our representatives in Washington about it. And they've been very helpful to us. And I, for one, am very pleased that we have been able to keep the peace. To keep the peace. Please let us know if you're not facing that. I'm glad that our chair mentioned our Spanish, our Hispanic.
Consejo Semiannual, yeah.
Thank you. I'm not articulate when it comes to foreign languages. But please keep talking about it. Please tell us your story. Please let us, when you come and talk to us about your experience, it's incredibly valuable. We can work with that. We in Clatsop County, we're really lucky. We have a variety of immigrant people here. We have Russians. Oh, and actually in Oregon, we have a very significant population of people who came here after the fall of the Soviet Union. The valley is just full of Russian immigrants, who have brought their farming talents here. The Hispanic population has brought so much to our community. It's so important. Thank you for coming. Continue to speak at every chance you have, because I consider you all Americans. You're here. You're our neighbors. You're the people we care about. Thank you for coming. You've made my whole night. Thank you so much. Keep talking to us.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Commissioner May?
I think my message will be probably shorter. I just want you guys to know you're always welcome. So please keep coming back. I think it's important for anyone and everyone in our community to come engage. And so the door is always open, and so are our email inboxes. So please, I just want you to know you're always welcome. Committee reports. So Northwest Senior and Disabilities met 2 weeks ago. I have passed the chair role on to our new chair, and if I remember correctly, it's Commissioner Scar from Tillamook, so she is the new chair of Northwest Senior and Disability Services. Everything is going swimmingly. Budget-wise, I think it is one of my committee liaison appointments that is the least of the roller coasters, and I appreciate that on all levels. And so just in that regard, a reminder for all seniors within our community, there is educational opportunities. I've noticed an uptick in fraud occurring, and fraudulent efforts from multiple entities, text, email, phone. And so I encourage you to reach out to Northwest Senior and Disability Services. There is an educational opportunity. They can give you updates on the current trends within the fraudulent world. But I think that it's important to remind our constituents that there is resources and there is education available and there is support. If something occurs, they do offer support in helping, I guess, recuperate whatever has occurred. So just that as a side note for our senior population. From there, there have been multiple childcare workforce groups convening. One was down in Tillamook with our governor's office, and I think the messaging that was overriding was that any ideas that come from this child care group needs to be net neutral in regards to funding. I think we're entering an age where budget is being squeezed, and so we need to be creative. And so a lot of conversation regarding how can we be creative in the child care realm in order to better improve resources for child care. A happy note from our workforce with childcare is both Tillamook and Columbia County are now pursuing a similar grant program that we have established here in Clatsop County, and they're already making headway in regards to raising funds, which is it's a very exciting thing to see, since we have had so much success with our current grant, sustainability grant. It's just neat to see. We're starting payments for our 6th grant cycle, or 5th or 6th. I would have to look back on my notes here this coming fall, and it's over $100,000 are being allotted, and a number of the providers are in-home providers, which is exciting. We're increasing our infant toddler seats and availability by utilizing the in-home provider avenue within our community, and that's exciting. And they're also working on bilingual resources
trying to make sure that we're opening up the grant program and that our Hispanic population has access to not only the grant the grant, but also to CCR&R. And because it takes everyone to improve capacity in a system, and so in-home, but also facility providers all have access to this grant program. Other than that, it's just been a busy week. We've kind of bumped shoulders in a couple meetings, and I'll let you share however much you need or can share in that regard. And an update on the BPA SAFE program is really no update. I spoke with a couple lobbyists today, and some had a positive response and some had a neutral response just in regards to potential funding for our BPA SAFE program. And so I am grateful CSM, both at our state level and national level, are engaging, and I am hopeful, but October 1st we run out of money, so I am also a little bit concerned considering it's 7 million fish. And we need to figure out how to support 7 million fish and 3 hatcheries in our county, and which also supports so many other industries. So that is a concern. Beyond that, just plodding along, answering phone calls and emails, and I feel like I've forgotten something. You might bring it up, hopefully. All right, but that's about all.
Well, yeah, thank you, Commissioner Banks. Appreciate the report. And if I forget something, because you hinted at something, and I hope I'm thinking of the same thing that you are, but I did want to just make a comment. You mentioned the child care task force, and I did go down to Tillamook. I had an opportunity to meet with the governor last Wednesday, and we did tour the YMCA down there. And one of the comments was, we really want to model childcare like Clatsop County is doing it, and that was a theme I heard from Commissioner Scar, from others, that they really admire what has been done in Clatsop County. They want to do the same. They want to do it in Columbia County, you mentioned as well, but Tillamook County was definitely on board with.
Look at us being cool.
And then you mentioned the BPA funding as well, and I'm going to be talking to COPAC tomorrow and presenting about our letter that we've sent to BPA, but I also did get the opportunity to tell the governor as well that, there is an urgency with this. It's not just that, well, the BPA is not going to be providing the funding. It's that we can't take fish. We're not in a position to take any more fish. Our funding runs out
October 1st.
I think mid-September, and October 1st was when ODFW is scheduled to actually bring us fish to raise. We're not able to take them. So unless BPA does a about face and absolutely says, okay, we're going to restore the funding, which they haven't indicated to this point that they will, the state has to come in and fill that gap. That there's no other question. We don't have the money. It's $800,000 that is budgeted to be able to manage those programs that, as you mentioned, 7 million fish hang in the balance. And that is a huge economic issue for our community, but it also impacts, and I think we have to kind of emphasize, we have a huge sport fishery that's going on out here,
Buoy 10.
both in the ocean and Buoy 10. A quarter of those fish that are caught are fish that are raised in Clatsop County. That's going to impact a lot of folks that are coming down from Portland metro area, and they're launching their boats down here and catching fish. So we have to really drive that point home. I understand that the governor is talking to the new BPA administrator. And then I know that Betsy Johnson has been talking with Representative Cliff Bentz, and Cliff Bentz has had kind of a connection with BPA in the past, so hopefully can be able to persuade BPA to come around and say, hey, 4 months ago we said we were going to fund this. I don't know, we made a mistake. We got to go back and honor what we've committed to over 30 years, which they have, and it has been a very beneficial program for the state of Oregon, for Washington State as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Sir, this is an international issue as well, and a cultural
Yes.
issue, because the salmon for the tribes
Mhm.
is of paramount
Yeah.
importance. So that international aspect, does that carry any weight?
And I don't know the
These are
tribes, I don't know if the tribes have waived in. I know that folks were trying to reach out to them to see if they could, because it does impact everybody upstream of Bonneville as well, because this, fishing down here on the lower Columbia takes the pressure off, allows those fish to go all the way upriver, and of course, that, is a big, that's a big impact, for the
Legal
tribes.
treaty rights
Yeah.
is the phrase that comes to mind.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, we owe it to them.
So, yeah, we'll continue to give updates, and I know we'll be meeting and hopefully have some, I hope there's gonna be some good news and progress on this. But the reason that we met, in Tillamook was, an opportunity to talk about projects within our county that need state partnership in order to succeed. What are the economic opportunities? What are the economic growth opportunities in our county? I identified North Coast Business Park. Of course, that's one thing that we've been working on, closely with the state. Those are land use issues. Those are infrastructure issues. We still have, a capacity issue with the wastewater treatment plant in Warrenton, to reach the full potential of the development. But there has been progress with the Division of State Lands Director. The Division of State Lands Director level has been much more, business friendly and has a better perspective than has been exemplified in other directors, and stepped in and helped guide phase one through the process. They're almost permitted for phase one at North Coast Business Park, but also stepped in for the Port of Astoria that had some real mitigation concerns for their dredging. And the director of Division of State Land said, we're not going to require you to do mitigation on the project. We think you can do in-water disposal. That's something that held them up for years. And of course, this is work that needs to be done, and thank goodness that someone with common sense stepped in and made a decision and showed leadership. And that's, I think, was the message that I shared with the governor and with that other commissioners did as well, is that that's the attitude that we need from all the directors, that they need to be looking at projects through the economic lens, not just by the book saying, well, you know what, you're not complying, you're not in conformance with what these laws, rules, ordinances say you are. We need to have some overall arching thing. Listen, we need to be competitive with the rest of the country. People are leaving the state. Businesses are leaving the state of Oregon to go do business elsewhere. Why are they doing that? Well, in a lot of cases, it is overregulation, and we've got to do something about that, and definitely take a look at how we're working with our businesses, how we, either growing existing businesses or bringing new businesses into the state. And there was agreement across the board on that. Also talked about Tongue Point and the opportunities at Tongue Point, not just for Hayek and for WCT, but the Coast Guard as well. Coast Guard has been a fantastic, partner in Clatsop County, but they've also been an entity that, most of these great people stay here and retire here, and we're the better for it. So if there are opportunities for expansion at Tongue Point with those fast response cutters first, but then maybe some of these offshore cutters, these other assets that could be sited there, huge opportunity there, and that would bring in a lot of resources to Clatsop County as well. So that was also kind of the pitch to help us with Tongue Point, help us with North Coast Business Park, help the Port of Astoria. Those are, I think, the biggest opportunities for industrial jobs, light industrial jobs, those wage jobs, the economic opportunities that we really need here in Clatsop County. Those are some of the things that the state of Oregon needs to help us with. We need to have that partnership with them. So the takeaway was that we're supposed to meet again. I've shared all the information that we have on all of our projects And then in a couple of weeks, we're supposed to get together, reconvene, and talk about next steps. That's a positive development, and hopefully that communication can continue. And I think, you know, we'll just see how that goes.
Absolutely.
And then I know that the Owens Adair grand opening, I believe, is next week. I think it's next Wednesday or Thursday. And so that's a big development. I don't know if the invites have gone out. Have they?
They
Okay, good. Well, I hope to see everybody there, because this is yeah. Yeah, it is a real success. And it'll be nice to see that from the inside, because I have yet to have the tour, and I can't wait to see it.
Chair, that'll be Thursday.
Thursday, it is Thursday. Okay, thank you. And then lastly, yes, the Infrastructure Finance Authority, we meet next Tuesday, and one of the items on the agenda is the Port of Astoria and the mitigation, or the reimbursement for the expense of the cleanup for that ruptured pipeline that was underneath their dock. So that's a $2 million request, and I know that the port director had reached out. I mean, he went out to everybody looking for some assistance, and he connected with Chris Cummings with Business Oregon, and so it's on the next agenda. We'll see what comes of that, but I hope that they can find some relief from some funding from Business Oregon.
Can I make note of something? That it was
Yeah.
not, the oil leak was not the port's fault. I think
No,
that since we're in a public meeting, to make sure that we share that it is not, at the fault of the port for this occurrence. It's just history and infrastructure.
No, that's a very important clarification to make. You know, thank you, Commissioner Banks. Did you have something, Commissioner Thompson, you wanted to add? Okay.
When I first came on as a rookie commissioner, I had two mentor commissioners on either side of us from Columbia and Tillamook County. They both told me the same thing. Clatsop County, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah.
Chair, I'm glad to see you're at the table.
No, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I agree. It's really important to be in the conversation.
That's right.
All right, County Manager.
Chair, members of the board, I don't have anything to follow all of your updates, so thank you.
You dominated the report outs today. Thank you, County Manager. Okay, we'll move on to business agenda. You're certainly welcome, yeah, if you want to leave at this time, you certainly can. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks again. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Do you know who the woman?
Okay. First item on the business agenda is the Cooperative Agreement-USDA Wildlife Services on page 37. Woo-hoo. County Manager.
Chair Quila, members of the board, on May 27th, Matthew Alex was here from the United States Department of Agriculture to give an overview of the Wildlife Services Program. This is a cooperative program between the federal government and counties. Quite a few Oregon counties participate in the program. Recently, we've been made aware of a number of predation issues in the county, and so we reached out to USDA, and it just happened to be a very fortuitous time for them because they had just had a vacancy in a Columbia County staff person. And so what has been proposed is that Clatsop County join the program, and our contribution the first year would be $40,000. We think it'll be in that general range subsequently too, but our $40,000 would be matched with just under $14,000 from the federal government for about $54,000 contribution to the program. That money will be met with money from Columbia County so that we can have a position between the two counties dealing with the predation and damage from wildlife. So So there's a contract in front of your board, which is to approve the 26-27 Cooperative Services Agreement between Clatsop County and the USDA in the amount of $40,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. I will say that we've already had some very initial conversations with USDA about some marketing and some communication, because we'll have to let people know that the program is available, who to contact, how to contact them, and what to expect from the program. And so we'll be working with them as we move forward, but they're already in a process to try to identify the staff person who can serve both of the counties. And so I think it's a win-win for both Columbia County and for Clatsop County. And having worked with USDA over at Washington County, I can say that the program is very much worth it, and it's a great partnership. So, thank you.
Great, thank you, County Manager. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Thompson?
Can this help with elk issues, or is it only predator?
I think that if there is damage, then they can come out, and a lot of it with elk would be education. You know, they're not going to relocate elk. And so a lot of it's going to be education for the residents. But, you know, I will let the experts, you know, weigh in once we have them under contract. But they are great resources because they deal with all kinds of wildlife issues statewide. And so it's a really valuable resource.
Commissioner Webb?
In another state, I have worked with this program from USDA, and it was absolutely wonderful for our county, which was an urbanizing county, much as we are. And they were really, really valuable to us. I really look forward to this.
Yeah.
It's especially because you don't get to have the feds on the ground very often. And so it's really, it's a great program. I really am looking forward to it. And I do hope that we can also choose the right staff here to sort of be the liaison, because there's a lot of opportunity for public education, and other funding sources. So,
yeah,
maybe we can work for those elk.
yeah, sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah, great resource for us.
It really is, because they're local guys, but they're the feds.
Yeah.
And so it's great. Good
Yeah.
program.
Great.
Woo.
Commissioner Banks?
Love it when we get.
I'm excited and grateful, so thank you so much for the extra effort. A lot of the predation came from my community and still does, and so I look forward to our folks having a resource. On the note of communications and how to best help the community, our Farm Bureau, Clatsop County Farm Bureau, is becoming more and more active. They have a younger group of men and women now that are wanting to be more a part of the community. And so I think reaching out to them might be a good start, along with obviously our Fair Board and just the community. They'll be excited to find out, and it'll just spread like gossip in our neighborhood. So, but I'm grateful. So thank you.
Oh my God.
All right, are we ready for a motion?
I move to approve the fiscal year 26-27 Cooperative Services Agreement between Clatsop County and the USDA Wildlife Services in the amount of $40,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded to approve the fiscal year 26-27 Cooperative Services Agreement between Clatsop County and USDA Wildlife Services in the amount of $40,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is a public hearing, Ordinance 26-04, Goal 5 Cultural Resources Rulemaking, page 51. Gail Hendrickson, Community Development Director.
Yeah, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you. This is a topic that we discussed with your board during a work session back on July 1st. This ordinance addresses rules that will become mandatory for the county regardless of whether or not we adopt these amendments. The rules will become effective on January 1st of 2027. Commissioner Thompson, is well aware of the rules and the rule changes. As a member of LCDC, she sat on, the commission during 2024 and 2025 when these rules were discussed. And, the rules were voted on and approved by LCDC in December of last year. So what the rules will do is it will require the county to send notifications to federally recognized tribes, in certain instances. One instance is when there's a ground disturbing activity that is being permitted and also requires a public notice. If you're going through a UGB expansion or amendment, that would require a notice to a federally recognized tribe. And what will primarily affect Clatsop County is in areas outside UGBs, any application that could potentially in the future result in ground disturbing activities. And so there are a list of those. You'll see those. Should probably put my glasses back on. Those are on page 58 of your agenda. It's going to be things like partitions, subdivisions, conditional use permits, potentially variances, and other types of activities. And so we will be sending out notifications to the federally recognized tribes for those types of projects come January 1st, regardless of whether or not this amendment is adopted. One of the other changes that came about as a committee is that there are now requirements for counties and local jurisdictions to accept and process applications for significant cultural landscape features. And these applications are a new process. We would need to develop application forms and an application fee for those as the county. That fee request or establishment will be coming to you at your next meeting. We're looking at a $5,000 fee. It is a big process that the county would have to undertake if we did receive one. The applications can only be submitted by an Oregon-based government. So it can be a city, a county, the state, or a federally recognized tribe. So it's not as if any person who wants to submit this application can do it. So it is a big process, it's a significant undertaking, and that's why we'd be looking at a larger fee for that. For the most part, the notification requirements will be easy for the county to comply with. It can be done via email, it can be done via regular email or regular mail, and the costs are pretty minimal associated with that. It would only be in cases where if we ever received an application for a significant landscape feature, that we would see an increase in staff time and costs. And again, that's why we would be requesting that fee. Again, your board discussed this on July 1st at a work session. The Planning Commission voted unanimously on July 14th to recommend your board adopt the ordinance as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to questions, County Council, may we have the first reading by title only?
This is ordinance number 26-04 in the matter of an ordinance amending Goal 5 of the Clatsop County Comprehensive Plan and Articles 1, 2, 5, and 6 of the Clatsop County Land and Water Development and Use Code to incorporate mandatory tribal notification requirements related to Goal 5 cultural resources.
Thank you, County Council. Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Webb.
I have a couple. Are there any federally recognized tribes in the county?
So the federally recognized tribes will be not allocated, but we will be made aware of which tribes we need to notify later in the year. It will be through the Legislative Commission on Indian Services, and then there are discussions between the tribes and the director of DLCD to establish where historical and cultural connections have occurred in the past. Once we get that, we will know which federally recognized tribes we have to notify.
And if that doesn't happen for the historical tribes that have been in this county, will we have any flexibility in involving our historical tribes, the Chinook, the Nehalem, and who's our third?
Clatsop.
Clatsop, I guess. No, there's there might be four. Anyway, is there any way that we can legally include them in at least a conversation about what might be happening if any of these sites don't belong anymore, but are historically were occupied by them?
Yeah, so the ordinance and the state regulations do not prohibit local governments from doing additional notifications if they choose to. So there would be nothing that would prevent the county from providing public notice to the non-federally recognized tribes as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's good news.
Could I weigh in on that?
Commissioner Thompson?
As Director Henriksen mentioned, I was the liaison between the commission and this, and there are 9 federally recognized tribes. There are other groups.
In what area?
In Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, in Oregon. And we are limited, this is Oregon statute, it is limited to Oregon. So there are other tribes that have come through or have had interest in the past, but are not Oregon tribes now.
You mean federally recognized?
They're outside the boundaries of the state of Oregon.
Oh.
This is law for tribes inside Oregon, on Oregon land. So it gets complicated because people have migrated through over time. There are groups that are not federally recognized tribes. That's a legal definition. Does that comport with your understanding as well? We have 9 federally recognized tribes within Oregon, even though there are other groups who are considered Indian or Native American.
Well, who are historically.
But it is a federal legal definition.
Right, and so this ordinance is specific to notification to the federally recognized tribes within the state, but the ordinance and the state rules also did not create a prohibition that said a local jurisdiction could not voluntarily reach out to a non-recognized tribe or to any other tribe in another state. Is my understanding correct, Commissioner Thompson?
It gets very complicated very fast.
Yes, I agree.
It's evolving case law, and when we did the rec, if I can just finish this thought, what we looked to do was not to overreach in any particular direction. What we looked to do was to have a reasonable beginning point for the conversations of how the melding of 2 distinct and sometimes contradictory cultures, Native American culture and English common law culture, would relate. It's a beginning conversation. It isn't the end of it. And we looked for opportunities to create mischief and tried to minimize opportunities to create mischief. We want to support communication. We want to reduce mischief. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
mischief.
Could we ask our council to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, agree with what Gail says. There's nothing that prohibits the county from adding additional requirements or tailoring this to our specific situation. So if we did want to add, additional notification requirements for tribes that aren't federally recognized or for whatever group, we can add that to the.
But we can do that at another time if we choose.
Chair Quilla, if I could just weigh in real quick. I think that what I would say is, because we're still waiting for the actual list from the state, is that, and there are things we can just decide to do, once we find out who are the tribes that the state has identified, then that will give us the opportunity to then say, how do we want to approach others, if we do. So what I would say is that would be a separate conversation outside of the ordinance right now.
I would agree, County Manager. I think this is setting up the framework and allowing us to work with the state and Commissioner Banks.
I would just be very cognizant, of our own overreach in the conversation, because I feel like that this is a tribe conversation, and it is not, like, so if we start extending privileges to folks that per se, one of our federally recognized tribes, we don't want to integrate ourselves into a conversation and create havoc, mischief, as Commissioner Thompson has alluded to. And I think that if we just keep it simple and follow state law and not try to do more out of potentially creating an unintended consequence of frustration amongst the tribes, I think that, let's just keep it simple. It's also good for our rural unincorporated situation and staffing levels to just keep it as simple as possible and not try to stretch ourselves too much further than the state law prescribes for us, because as we noted in our budget, it is already stretched. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Banks. Okay, do we have any other questions, or are we ready to open the public hearing? Oh. Do we have any more questions for staff? Any more questions for Gail? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-04. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest to report? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Look at the board. Are there any members of the public signed up to speak remotely? No. Okay. Are there any members of the public signed up to speak in person?
No.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 26-04. And Commissioner Thompson, did you want to make the motion, or did you?
I would love to. I want to tell you, it was very interesting because this was the property rights people and most of the tribal nations, most of the 9 tribal nations, and they were not of one mind about every single thing, and they were very conscious of the administrative burden.
Yeah.
So everything that we have said, no, it's very complicated. So to proceed gradually and thoughtfully and baby steps, I think is a good idea here. That's my editorial comment before I make the motion. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we conduct the first public hearing and continue the item to August 26th, 2026.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded that we can continue the public hearing on this matter to our August 26, 2026 meeting and conduct the second reading at that time. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gail. All right, that concludes our business. Anything for the good of the order?
I remembered all the things, but it's okay.
Oh, well, too late now.
Too late.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.